Okay, we are here. It is tree planting weekend, so it's May 9th and it's unseasonably warm today, so it's going to get to about 80 degrees. So it should be a fun couple of days, a lot of hard work, but definitely going to be worth it once you see the finished product. First thing we're going to do, kind of after months of planning, months of preparation, we put the tree order in January for these particular trees. Bought them from the Iowa State Nursery in Ames, and so that's always a great place to get your trees from. They come in bundles of 25. They're $1 a piece or a little over $1 a piece, so it's a very economical way to plant a larger number of trees. And if you lose some, you're not out huge dollar amounts for the trees themselves. You're out your time and your labor, but you're not out huge sums of money for the trees. So first step in this process is we're gonna I mentioned, and you saw that I mowed the pasture down to cut the grass to a lower level so that when we're auguring the holes, we're not creating extra work for ourselves. It gives us a nice clean bed to work on. But the next part that is actually pretty time consuming is measuring and marking out where we're going to plant the trees. And so we use little flags, and we're going to measure and get everything just the way we want it. This actually takes usually 2 to 3 hours. This is, you know, kind of the planning process is one of the most important pieces. So we'll set up the time-lapse camera here, and you kind of see what we do for that. Pretty straightforward, but it is time consuming. Once we get the flags in place and get the measurements the way we want them, then we can actually start the process of digging some holes. So we're going to get started with that. Okay, we got the first row of trees measured out. We ended up with 36 trees, and we're alternating hackberries and red oaks. And so I'm going to flip the phone around here, maybe give you an idea. It was probably hard to see a little bit on the time-lapse video, but we basically just took 2 different colors of flags and measured it out. So we've got 12 feet from the existing fence line, and then we've got 16 feet in between the trees, so in between the 2 flags, you might say, for our spacing for our tree line. And so yeah, this is kind of one of the time consuming aspects of a larger project like this. We tried to make the line as straight as possible. It's not a perfect science, but you want to try and get as close to possible as you can in terms of your straightness on the tree line. Of course, trees are going to grow in any direction, but can at least try to get them lined up as best possible out of the gate. Yeah, this took about 1 hour and 45 minutes. It's kind of measure twice, cut once concept. Maybe measure 3 times, kind of probably what we did, just to make sure before we start drilling holes. And so we're gonna start on the second tree line, and we're gonna just alternate. So we'll space it out. So on the other tree line, we'll pretty much start in between. If you're doing 2 rows of trees, we'll start in between, you know, these 2 existing flags and do our first flag on the opposite side, and then just start working our way down again. So I'm going to set up the time-lapse camera again, and we'll get that going, and hopefully get to be planting some trees this afternoon. So again, a little bit time consuming process here, but very important to try to get your spacing perfect, measure multiple times, so you kind of set yourself up for success. What we're doing here is we're kind of, you know, this existing tree line that I mentioned from 2023. So we're just kind of wrapping it around the corner here. So I'll back up and get a little bit broader perspective. and just taking it around the corner there. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. It's getting really warm out here. Again, it's unseasonably warm for this time of year. It's about 80 degrees and it's like May 9th. That's not that typical for us. So I might have to switch headgear here, get a little bit more shade around me so we can make sure we get through the day here. But we'll set up a time lapse and we'll get going on the next part. After we finished marking a line, we moved on to our next step and started augering out the holes for the trees. It looked like the battery was getting low, so it automatically downgraded the resolution on this particular clip. However, you can see we have 3 people working together, making quick work of this part of the project. Coming up, I'll walk you through exactly how we go about drilling those holes with the equipment we have and the process that we have in place for moving the dirt. Okay, so we want to show you up close kind of what we're doing with this part of the project. I've stopped the time-lapse video. Again, I mentioned we have a highly customized dirt box here. This is just a box from Sam's Club or Costco. It's got really deep walls, like 8-inch walls. So we basically took and cored out the middle of it to allow it to fit our auger, and then the auger spins up and it pushes the dirt up and it pushes into the sides of the box. And so it captures about 80 to 90% of the dirt that we're pulling out of the hole. That way we're not losing dirt on the ground and you're spending a lot of time and energy scraping that dirt off the ground when you're trying to plant the tree. So our process is, right or wrong, we drill the hole that we marked from earlier. We put the auger in the middle, pull the flag, drill the hole. We also then take the plastic, put it underneath the box, and just kind of do a hinge over with the dirt. So again, it's really seamless. We're not losing any dirt in the process. And it goes pretty quickly. We just did, 17 holes in about 25, 30 minutes. Pretty quick process. So we're going to demonstrate that real quick. I'm going to fire this up and we're going to do this hole right now. So we'll take our plastic now and we'll go on that side to tuck it under. And then just dump it. And there you go. That's it. All right, so we're getting ready to start actually planting some of the trees now. We did 25 holes for the first batch of 25 red oaks. And so what we're doing now is just kind of doing some final site prep. We're making a few holes a little bit larger, just depending on the size of the root system for each hole. So we're gonna get going on that. I don't know if, hopefully we'll get these 25 in the ground today. That's the goal. And I'll do a close-up on kind of our process for each tree as we get further along. But you can see some of the holes there. Of course, we're alternating trees, so every other hole there, or excuse me, every other flag we actually drilled out first. We'll go back and finish the other ones probably tomorrow. We made good progress on planting the red oaks. We turned the corner and started planting the second line. As you can see, it's starting to get later in the day. The shadows are starting to set in, and we were just working to get that second line planted. This will take us about halfway down the second line, but we want to go back to the trees that we've already planted and make sure we have plenty of time to get the weed mats down, the stakes in the ground, and the tubes on them before we finish up for the day. Okay, we are getting towards the end here on day one. We've got maybe about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes left of work that we're going to knock out for day one. What we've done so far here is we've planted 25 red oaks. So we've, every other flag, we've dug our hole for our red oak, and we've gone ahead and planted those. And so now we are going to start the final step in the process, which is to put a tube and a stake and a tree mat down. So essentially, obviously putting the tree mat down is going to help with the weeds, keep the grass off of the new tree, and also keep the moisture in a little bit. And we're going to put in a 6-foot T-post for each one, and then we're going to put a tube around it. The tube kind of acts like almost like a greenhouse in some way. Keeps nice temperature in there, keeps the bugs off the tree, keeps rodents and animals from eating. This is an older one. We need to do some maintenance down at the bottom there, but this tube is actually connected with reusable zip ties, which is nice. So you can adjust it when you need to. You can take it off to do what we call tree maintenance, in the fall, get all the dead leaves off, all that stuff. So that's kind of the next step in the process. That's what we're hoping to get done for tonight, is to get everything that we planted today tubed and staked, and then we're going to call it for day one of this adventure. And we'll be back tomorrow. We've got about 50 to 52 holes to drill and plant and tube and stake and all that fun stuff. And we'll do a close-up video showing kind of our process for planting and what we do when we actually plant the tree. So we will see you tomorrow. All right, I know I said that's a wrap. We'll see you tomorrow on the last cutout, but this is truly a wrap. So we did get all 25 or so of the red oaks staked and weed mat down. We're gonna come back, we're gonna grab something to eat quick, come back, we're gonna put the tree tubes on, and that will truly be it for day one. And we'll be back tomorrow bright and early to get started on the other 50 as part of this. I think we're gonna up 75, 77, maybe 80. There's a spot down at the end where we have to wrap around the corner. We're saving that for last to make sure that we have our spacing. But I'll give you a quick visual here. That's kind of what we're looking at here. Try to get them as straight as possible. It's not, again, perfect science with everything, but it's a good start. And then we'll come back in the morning and get going with augering out holes for the remaining trees, and we'll go from there.